Hello friends, welcome to another session of biochemistry. We are continuing with our discussion on the acid-base homeostasis. In the previous video, we talked about the acid-base homeostasis and the various mechanisms which help to maintain the homeostasis. Now we'll be talking about the acid-base imbalance. What are the different types of acid-base imbalance which can be there? We already said when the pH is less than 7.35, we'll call it acidosis, and when the pH is more than 7.45, we will call it the alkalosis. The body will try to respond to acid base imbalance by the mechanism known as a compensation. The compensation can sometimes be complete if there is a mild change in pH and the pH will be brought back within the normal limits. However, this is quite rare. Almost always the compensation is only partial and we need to supplement this effort of the body from outside to bring the pH back to normal. So remember, we can have the partial or the complete compensation. Partial compensation is a rule, complete compensation is very rare, or it can happen when there is a very mild change in the pH. Talking about compensation, the compensation will be carried out by the alternate pathway. Suppose the underlying problem is metabolic in nature. When we say metabolic, it also includes the renal system. When it is metabolic in nature, the respiratory system will come into play, either hyperventilation or hypoventilation, and this will be called the respiratory compensation. On the other hand, if the problem is respiratory, the renal mechanism will work to compensate, and this will be called the metabolic, or you can also call it the renal compensation. Okay, so the compensation will be by the second support mechanism away from what has been affected. Let's look at acidosis, how the acidosis is likely to present. So principal effect of acidosis is depression of the CNS. Okay, this is due to decrease in the synaptic transmission. So all the actions of the CNS will be diminished. So there will be generalized weakness because of the certain loss of the muscle tone. There will be deranged CNS function, which is the greatest threat, and severe acidosis will first cause disorientation followed by coma and ultimately death. That is why acid base imbalance is so frightening. If it is not captured and not treated adequately, the patient becomes unsalvageable and passes away. Okay, that is why acid base imbalance is very important. It has to be caught and it has to be treated immediately. Talking about alkalosis, opposite will happen. In alkalosis, there is over excitability of the central and the peripheral nervous system. In acidosis, we said depression. In alkalosis, we are saying the over excitation is there. Because of this, there can be numbness, there will be lightheadedness, there will be nervousness, muscle spasm or tetany will be there, convulsions, and again this will lead to loss of consciousness followed by death. So in both acidosis and alkalosis, if untreated state is there and it keeps progressing further and further, the patient will die. So management of acid base imbalance is very critical for keeping the patient healthy. Let's take a look here. 7.4 is the normal average. If there is accumulation of acid or if there is loss of base, then the concentration of H plus will rise. Concentration of H plus will rise and therefore the pH will drop and it will cause the acidosis. On the other hand, if the acids are lost or there is accumulation of bases, the concentration of the concentration of H plus will decrease and the pH will rise, causing the alkalosis. So primarily the causes for alkalosis will be either accumulation of base or loss of acids. Similarly, for acidosis, either accumulation of acid or the loss of base. These are the fundamental reasons for the different types of acid base disorder. Specific reasons we will see. Talking about acid base disorder, they can either be metabolic or respiratory in nature. They can either be acidosis or alkalosis. So you can have the metabolic acidosis, metabolic alkalosis, respiratory acidosis and respiratory alkalosis. So note, either the respiratory problem is there or the metabolic problem is there. Either it is acidosis or it is alkalosis. So different permutation combination will give us 4 distinct entities: respiratory acidosis and alkalosis, metabolic acidosis and alkalosis. Let's look at them one by one, starting with the metabolic acidosis. In metabolic acidosis, what will happen? There will be bicarbonate deficit. about the acidosis or the alkalosis, how we are going to identify. One point I did not mention here. Okay, let's see. So when we are looking at the acid base disorders, the parameters I already told you which you will get, it was discussed in the previous video, will be the pH, the bicarbonate concentration, and the pCO2. We already mentioned the normal values for these. For pH we said it is 7.4, the range being 7.35 to 7.45. For the bicarbonate the value will be 24 milli equivalent per liter. The range will be 22 to 26 milli equivalent per liter. For pCO2 the value will be 35 to 45 millimeter of Hg. Okay, the average value you can take as 40. Average value you can take as 40. Okay, now we already said when the acidosis is there, the 7.4 value will be less. When alkalosis is there, it will be more than 7.4. Now talking about the bicarbonate and the pCO2 value, we'll try to see what happens to them. When there is acidosis, what happens to the bicarbonate and what happens to the pCO2 value? In acidosis, the H plus will rise or the bicarbonate will decrease. The pCO2 contributes to H plus. So H plus is rising means the pCO2 will rise. On the other hand, when we talk about alkalosis, the bicarbonate will rise and the pCO2 will fall, right? We already mentioned if the involved parameter is bicarbonate, this is metabolic. On the other hand, if the parameter getting affected is pCO2, this will be respiratory. So this is how we are going to make our diagnosis. I'll give the flowchart later on also. This is how we are going to make the diagnosis depending on what is the primary defect. The compensation works in the other direction. We'll take a look at that also. Okay. So metabolic acidosis, we said the bicarbonate deficit when the bicarbonate value is less than 22 milli equivalent per liter. Causes: there is excess production of acid. For example, we can have the ketoacidosis. There is reduced excretion of the acid, renal tubular acidosis, inherited disorder, or there is excessive loss of bicarbonate, the base is decreasing, which is seen in the diarrhea. In cases where the production of acid is high, you will also come across another parameter which is known as the anion gap. In cases when the production of acid increases, the anion gap will also increase. The anion gap can be described in two ways. Anion gap where only sodium is considered, or the anion gap which also considers potassium. When we have the anion gap where you are including the potassium also, the formula will be something like this: minus chloride plus bicarbonate. Alright, in this case the value happens to be 8 millimole per liter. So depending on which anion gap formula you are using, the normal values will be either 12 or 8. The anion gap only for sodium is 12 millimole and anion gap for sodium plus potassium is 8 millimole. Very briefly, I'll talk about this anion gap. So what is happening? Normally the blood is neutral, always it will be neutral, but when we measure the anions and cations, we are not able to measure all the anions and cations. So we identify some of the important and the more prevalent anions and cations for comparison. So actually when we are measuring the anion gap, it is the difference between the measured cations and the measured anions. So anion gap is basically the difference between the measured cations and the measured anions. As mentioned, the measured cations can either be only sodium or sodium plus potassium. On the other hand, the measured cations are typically chloride and the bicarbonate, right? Now when there is excess production of the acid, when there is excess production of the acid, the different anions will start coming into the picture. But remember, overall the blood will be neutral, overall the neutrality will be there. So what is happening, the relative concentration of chloride and bicarbonate will fall, because overall the blood is neutral and more extra anions are coming which you are not measuring. So when you measure the difference, here the value of anion is falling and the cation is still the same. So overall value, the difference will start rising. So please note, when there is production of acid in metabolic acidosis, the anion gap will increase. So very commonly the question is asked, what are the conditions where the anion gap is increased? What are the conditions where the anion gap is increased? We remember them by the mnemonic of mud piles. We remember them by the mnemonic of the mud piles. So let us quickly see what exactly is the mud piles, what all names we have to remember when we say the mud piles. M is for methanol. When there is methanol poisoning, that is when we will have one of the cases of the anion gap. U is for uremia. When there is kidney disease and the urea is getting elevated, or because of the liver disease the urea is getting elevated, in that case again we will have the anion gap. D is the diabetic ketoacidosis. Although the ketoacidosis can be because of the alcohol consumption, the ketoacidosis can be because of the starvation also, but D here stands for the diabetic ketoacidosis. P is for a substance known as paraldehyde. I stands for isoniazid, but also the iron can cause the metabolic acidosis. Iron can also cause the metabolic acidosis, but primarily it is the isoniazid. L is for lactic acid. Lactic acid can be a result of again alcohol intoxication or due to severe exercise. E is for another alcohol, that is ethanol. In addition, the ethylene glycol can also cause the increased anion gap metabolic acidosis. And S is for the salicylates. S is for the salicylates. Okay, so these are some of the very important causes where you are likely to come across increased anion gap acidosis. The increased anion gap acidosis will be seen in all these conditions which I have mentioned. They are some of the very important causes for the increased anion gap acidosis. How do we remember them? We remember them using the mnemonic mud piles. This is a very standard mnemonic which you will find at a lot of different places. So I hope you are able to remember it. It will help you to identify the various conditions. Very commonly in the clinical case scenario, they will just give you some parameters where anion gap is increased, and then you will have to choose from the given list. If you know these conditions where the anion gap is increased, you can directly pick one of them from the list if it is there in the options. Okay, symptoms of metabolic acidosis we have already discussed. I'll do the recap. Headache, lethargy because of the decreased synaptic transmission, the nausea, vomiting and diarrhea, coma, and followed by death. Compensation for the metabolic acidosis, obviously it has to be respiratory in nature. So respiratory mechanism will come into play for the compensation, And how it is coming into play? The increased ventilation. See, this is the Henderson-Hasselbalch equation. What has happened in acidosis? In metabolic acidosis, the bicarbonate value has fallen. We said the value is less than 22 milliequivalent per liter. So our numerator has decreased. You can see here the numerator has decreased. To bring the ratio back to normal, what we have to do? We have to decrease the denominator also. How do we decrease the denominator? By removing the PCO2. How do we remove the PCO2? By increasing the ventilation. CO2 washout has to be done so that the compensation will occur. That is why you will find very characteristic respiratory patterns can be there when we have the metabolic acidosis. The renal mechanism will come into play, but it will have less role to play. Why? Because the bicarbonate levels are already getting affected. So reclamation of bicarbonate, to increase the bicarbonate level, will be a slow exercise and it will take a lot of time to come into play. Diagrammatically, let us see what is happening. It will make the picture very clear. So this is the homeostasis of acid base. You can see in the bicarbonate system, 1 part of acid and 20 part of base. We had said the ratio of base to acid is 20:1, right? Now in metabolic acidosis, what has happened? The bicarbonate value has decreased greatly. The bicarbonate value from 20, it has become 10. Okay, so drastic decrease in the bicarbonate. So there is imbalance. We can see the balance is disrupted. There is imbalance. The body will try to compensate. How? It will try to decrease the amount of H2CO3 here by hyperventilation. We will do the hyperventilation, and from 1 the value has become 0.75. So slight compensation is there. We call it partial compensation. At the same time, the body correction from kidney is also coming, so that the bicarbonate level is slightly increasing, but it will take a lot of time. So when the patient comes to you, what you can do? You have to restore the balance. So you give substances which will increase the bicarbonate level. The ideal substance for this will be the Ringer lactate. When you give the Ringer lactate, on metabolism of the lactate, the bicarbonate values will be restored and the balance can be achieved. So when you're talking about acidosis, give the Ringer lactate. When you have a patient of acidosis and you have to give the fluid, you have to give the Ringer lactate. Remember this. This question will be asked: choice of fluid for the different type of acid base imbalance. For acidosis, we are giving the Ringer lactate. Next, we come to the metabolic alkalosis. Here what will happen? The bicarbonate excess will be there. The upper limit for the normal range was 26 milliequivalent. So when the concentration of bicarbonate is greater than 26 milliequivalent, then we will call it the metabolic alkalosis. Common causes are vomiting. In vomiting, lot of H plus will be lost. Excessive use of alkaline drugs and certain diuretics are likely to cause the metabolic alkalosis. Symptoms we already discussed. In alkalosis, there is hyperexcitation, and there we will have the hyperactive reflexes. The tetany will be there. Depletion of electrolytes because of the vomiting can be there. Atrial tachycardia will be there. Dysrhythmias will be there. All of this can precipitate the death of the patient. So how the compensation will occur? Again, this is metabolic in nature. So compensation will be respiratory. Let us see how the compensation will occur. You have to retain the CO2. Look at the Henderson-Hasselbalch equation. What is happening here? The numerator has increased. So how to bring the ratio back to normal? By increasing the denominator. How will increase the denominator? By increasing the amount of PCO2. So there will be very slow and shallow breathing, so that CO2 retention can be there. The renal compensation can be there. It can try to eliminate some of the bicarbonate, but again it will take a lot of time to come into play. Diagrammatically, let's see again. Balance is there. What is happening now? The bicarbonate value has increased, so balance is disrupted. So the body will try to increase the H2CO3 by retaining more and more of CO2. Some renal balance will also come into play, but still you can see the balance is not restored. This is the partial compensation, right? The partial compensation is there. To bring the balance back to normal, what do? We give the chloride solution. The chloride solution will exchange with the bicarbonate in the excretion, and it will bring the value back to normal. So when you're talking about alkalosis, which fluid to be given? The answer is the normal saline. Normal saline to be given when you're talking about alkalosis. When you're talking about acidosis, then you have to give the ringer lactate. The question on fluid, which fluid to choose in which type of patients, is very, very commonly asked. Okay, let's talk about the respiratory acidosis. Now, in respiratory acidosis, what is happening? Any condition that decreases elimination of carbon dioxide so that the PCO2 value starts rising. Ideally, this value should have been greater than 45, but in the question, typically it will be mentioned greater than 40. So, you have to work with this value. There are two possible mechanisms by which respiratory acidosis can occur. One, the respiratory center itself is not working properly. It is not sending the signal for the respiration. The possible causes can be trauma, tumor, infection, drugs. If there is trauma to the respiratory center, it will not work. If there is tumor which is pressing on the respiratory center, it will not work. Infection, inflammation is there, it is not working, and certain drugs which are suppressing the respiratory center. Alternately, what can happen? The signal is going to the respiratory apparatus, but the respiratory apparatus is not working. Okay, COPD, fibrosis, acute respiratory distress syndrome, trauma, in all these conditions, the respiratory apparatus will not work. The lung is not functioning. In these conditions, there will be retention of the CO2, decreased elimination, and CO2 value will start rising above the normal threshold. Signs and symptoms of acidosis, again, we will have the restlessness, lethargy, disorientation, tremor, convulsion, coma. Respiratory rate will be rapid and then gradually it will get depressed. Because of the excess CO2, the skin is warmed and flushed. The excess CO2 causes the vasodilatation. This is one of the important findings in the respiratory acidosis. The vasodilatation is occur, because of which the skin will be warm and flushed. Let's look at the compensation. Obviously, the respiratory apparatus is affected, so the compensation cannot be respiratory in nature. It has to be metabolic and the buffer system. So, hemoglobin and protein buffer will try to buffer as much as possible, but after some time they'll get exhausted, and that is when the renal mechanism will come into play. We already discussed what are three mechanisms. You increase the sodium hydrogen exchange, you increase the formation of ammonia, and increased reclamation of the bicarbonate. Acidosis is there, so excrete the H plus. More ammonia, more H plus excretion, and bicarbonate retention will try to bring the balance to normal. Let's take a look at it diagrammatically. What is happening? Balance is there. Because the apparatus is not working because of any reason, the H2CO3 level will start rising. So there is now the imbalance. Okay, so the kidney will try to restore the balance by increasing the bicarbonate and try to diminish the H plus. So partial compensation will be there, but correction of the compensation, again, because it is acidosis, you have to give the ringer lactate. Remember, acidosis, ringer lactate; alkalosis, normal saline. Lastly, we come to the respiratory alkalosis, where we have the carbonic acid deficit. The PCO2 will become less than 35 millimeter of Hg. Hypocapnia is there. It is probably the most common acid base imbalance, but most of these patients will not come to the clinics. They get corrected on their own. If there is a, let's say, psychiatric attack, there is a panic attack, hyperventilation, CO2 washout, severe exercise, CO2 washout. So various conditions in which the CO2 washout can result in the respiratory alkalosis. Primary cause, like I said, is the hyperventilation. Conditions that stimulate the respiratory center will also have this effect. When there is oxygen deficiency at high altitude, we are likely to land up in the respiratory alkalosis. Pulmonary disease and congestive heart failure, which are caused by hypoxia, again respiratory alkalosis. Anxiety, I told you, panic attacks. Fever, anemia where respiration is fast. Salicylate intoxication, cirrhosis, gram-negative sepsis, and like I said, severe exercise. Compensation for respiratory alkalosis, again similar to the respiratory acidosis. Buffer systems will try to work, hemoglobin and protein buffers, but renal mechanism will be the primary way in which the compensation will happen. We have to decrease the H plus excretion so that more and more of H plus is getting retained and the alkalosis can be neutralized. Less formation of ammonia and more excretion of the bicarbonate. We don't want to reclaim the bicarbonate because already we have the elevated bicarbonate level. Take a look here, balance is there, but what is happening now? The CO2 is very less in amount, so the imbalance has occurred. The body will try to compensate by excreting more and more of the bicarbonate, so partial compensation will happen. Correction by the normal saline. So when you have the alkalosis, normal saline. When you have the acidosis, then you have the ringer lactate. So let's come back to diagnosis of acid-base imbalance, which I told a little bit in the beginning. First, you have to identify whether you are dealing with acidosis or alkalosis. I told you we have got the three parameters: the pH, bicarbonate, and PCO2. So look at the pH and identify where you are talking about acidosis or alkalosis. Now decide which value is as per our expectation. So if you are looking at acidosis, there are two possibilities: either the PCO2 is high or the bicarbonate is low. So look at the values and identify which one follows your prediction. Whatever follows your prediction is the primary cause, meaning if the cause is a change in PCO2, then the problem is respiratory. If the cause is increase in bicarbonate, the problem is metabolic. And look at the value that doesn't correspond to your prediction. There are two possibilities: either it is normal or it is going in the opposite direction. For acidosis, if PCO2 should rise, you find that PCO2 is decreasing, then that is a compensation. For PCO2, for acidosis, the bicarbonate should be low, but you find it is increasing, that is the compensation. So if it is in the normal range, there is no compensation. This will typically occur in acute cases. But when we have the chronic cases, it will go in the outside range in the opposite direction. Okay. So that is how we identify the compensation. So I'll show you the flow chart how you can work this out. So you have the arterial blood sample, you have the values of pH, PCO2 and bicarbonate. Look at the pH. If it is less than 7.4, we are dealing with acidosis. And if the bicarbonate value is less, then it is metabolic. And look at the PCO2. If PCO2 instead of rising is falling, then there is compensation. But if it is normal, then there is no compensation. In acute cases, no compensation. In chronic cases, there will be compensation. On the other hand, if the PCO2 is elevated, then it is respiratory in nature, and bicarbonate instead of decreasing is increased, then there is renal or the metabolic compensation. Most of the time, this compensation will be partial in nature. On the other hand, if the pH is more than 7.4, we are dealing with alkalosis. If bicarbonate is elevated, it is metabolic in nature, and if PCO2 is also elevated, then the respiratory compensation is there. If the PCO2 is less than 40, then it is a respiratory alkalosis, and the bicarbonate is also less than 24, then the renal compensation is there. This is the flow chart by which we can identify the acid-base disorders. However, in the emergency, you sometimes don't have the time to refer to this graph. So what you can do, you can use the shortcut which is called the Davenport diagram. The Davenport diagram has a graph which uses the 3 points: the arterial blood pH, the arterial plasma bicarbonate, and the PCO2 value along the other two axes. Okay, you can see the lines which are drawn here. These indicate the PCO2 values, right? Whatever value you get from the ABG analysis for the PCO2, the bicarbonate and the pH, you plot it here. For example, take a look here. What is the value here? 24. Where the graph is cutting, roughly 40 is crossing through this point, and the pH value is 7.4. All the three values normal at the center. Take a look at this point. What is happening here? The PCO2 value is, let's say, approximately 23. PCO2 is 23. What about the bicarbonate value? The bicarbonate value is approximately 22. The bicarbonate value is approximately 22. And what about the pH? pH is 7.56. So obviously we are dealing with alkalosis. In alkalosis, the PCO2 should be low. So we can see the PCO2 is low and the bicarbonate should be normal or high. So here there is no compensation. It is still within the normal range. So there is no compensation, meaning we are dealing with an acute case of respiratory alkalosis. So like that you can see the various sections are there: metabolic alkalosis, chronic respiratory acidosis, the metabolic acidosis, chronic respiratory alkalosis, acute respiratory acidosis. So just put in the values and you can read out your diagnosis from this graph. This is known as the Davenport diagram. It is a very useful tool to be used in the emergency department. When you get a patient, we get the values for the ABG analysis, just put in the values and you can quickly plot it. I had shown you a question in the beginning when we were talking about the acid base homeostasis. We'll see that question again and we'll try to find out what is happening here. A patient in ICU because suffered myocardial infarction 3 days ago. Lab report from the ABG sample is here. pH 7.3. This is acidosis. In acidosis, either the bicarbonate should be low or the PCO2 should be high. So you can see the bicarbonate is low, meaning this is metabolic. This is metabolic acidosis. What about the PCO2? PCO2 should be high in acidosis, but here the PCO2 is low. Means we have the respiratory compensation also. This is how you are going to work up the question. Okay, so we have the metabolic acidosis with the respiratory compensation. We'll discuss some questions in the video on the questions and we'll see how the different cases can be there. We can also sometimes use the Anand gap to arrive at a diagnosis. Lastly, sometimes you can have the complicated picture. Multiple scenarios can come in together. For example, you've had a party, a very nice party is going on. So what happens? You imbibe a lot of alcohol. So when you imbibe a lot of alcohol, what will happen? You will have the metabolic acidosis. Because of production of the acid, you will have the metabolic acidosis. But when you imbibe a lot of alcohol, what happens? Typically there is an episode of vomiting. When you do the vomiting, what will happen? The H plus will be lost and this will be complicated with the metabolic alkalosis. And now when you do the vomiting, there is a tendency for hyperventilation. You are doing the CO2 washout. All right, we are doing the CO2 washout and this will be the respiratory alkalosis. So what you find, there is a complicated picture. In one patient we have all the three disorders, and interestingly when you measure the pH, the pH happens to be 7.36. They have tried to compensate for each other. One episode of acidosis, 2 episodes of alkalosis. They brought the pH in the normal range, but the patient is not well. He is very weak, he is lethargic, he is not well at all. You can see that is when you will examine the anion gap. Because the metabolic acidosis is there due to production of acid, the anion gap will be increased. When the anion gap is increased, immediately you get to know, okay, some problem is there. So what you do, you compensate for the metabolic acidosis, you try to correct the anion gap. Once the anion gap is corrected, then these two will come out and they will give their own presentation. Now the alkalosis part will be left and you can treat the alkalosis also. So remember, sometimes we can have the complicated picture, but again the three parameters which help us to make the primary diagnosis: pH, the bicarbonate concentration and the PCO2. Lastly, little bit about the anion gap. This also you should remember. I'll repeat, the anion gap is a ancillary point. It is generally not there in the question, but the acid base imbalance question will come again and again in your exam, and using only these three parameters you can solve most of the questions. I've given you the flow chart that is commonly used to arrive at the answer. Very simple flow chart which also tells you whether the compensation is there or not. So make sure you take a look at this flow chart before you go for the exam. When you get the question on acid base imbalance, make sure you solve it correctly. Easy, 4 marks in your hands. Thank you very much.